What's up, duelists? Copying Keygun because this is an Edison deck profile. Uh, I am bored with the current game at the moment, so I'm playing Edison. And this is the deck that I play. Standard mid-range Black Wings. This deck actually opens really consistent plays. And I'm gonna see you're gonna see like how like trap dust shoots that normally end plays how they help you like play really well. Of course, we maxing out on the monsters for Whirlwind. We max on the Kalutes. We don't max on Blizzards. I don't think I've ever like felt like I needed a third Blizzard. Third value that comes up. The Greffers, the Dot, because he ends games by his own. He's insane. The trap lineup that misses Mirror Force and Torrential. The reason is that my deck already has issues with Starlight Road. I don't want to play more cards that lose to Starlight Road. Plus, I value more having cards that get me closer to combo in this mid-range deck. I already play 13 defensive cards. They could be even more. You could like not play Brain Control and play another trap. But overall, really happy with the list recently. Every time that if I lose, I feel like I'm losing because an opponent like drew fucking Modern Hand that has like 3 plays available or something. So let's jump into the replays that we have today with the deck. So this is the first replay. It is against I think Glad Beasts. Yes, and so he's going first. He has open dust called by Bestiary and 2 Tigers. And I am having a really strong hand. So he goes set 2. And I am like, oh shit, he has like Starlight Road. But he just sets 2 back row, which is, these are 2 really good back rows for him. Therefore, I go, he dusts my Whirlwind, I have Kalutes, I have stuff that helps me. But the problem is that he has Tiger plus this, and now he has access to Geysers. Anyway, so here is called by, he top decks Deep Prison, which was the draw that sealed the game. Anyway, so here he goes into Geysers here. And Geysers pops my guy, and I take the damage. He goes Laquari, then he goes into Retiari to banish to cut me off from Blizzard plays, and he sets the prison. What do I MST here? This is what I don't remember. I MST the new one, thank god I'm good. I'm like, the new one is something good. Like I was expecting the old one to be like a Starlight Road or something. It wasn't, and I hit the Deep Prison. We are going, and here I go. I play into Chariot. It's the reality, but I think that I kinda have to play into it because I want to get monsters. Anyway, so I make the right call here. I go for Gale, and then I go into full Armor Master so that he doesn't have a target to attack. Anyway, there is Call of the Hunted. My oppression counters that. And he draws Dust Shoot. Anyway, so he goes into Test Tiger. I let him special the Tiger because I'm like, okay, I can tribute it, and then I go, he shuffles it back. It shuffles for effect, but it doesn't matter. I oppression negate that. He sees oppression. I have like double colludes. He's like, yeah, damn, I'm not playing this. Overall, a really explosive Glad Beast hand, and he still lost. That's like the good thing with having names, you can come back. I mean, I had the MST obviously, but he top decked the Dimensional Prison. Anyway, so here is where he like top decks Judgment, which just helps him set everything. He doesn't set Judgment. He sets Trap Hole and MST. Anyway, a normal Shura he Trap Holes. And then he top decks book. He's only having Test Tiger, which is really unfortunate. He's also playing Econ against me, which I don't know how good it is. I guess it plays around Kalut, but it loses to Icarus so fucking hard. It just loses to any other battle trick there is. And it doesn't keep your monster if you want to dodge stuff. But it's not bad, a bad card. Okay, so here he sets the judgment. I don't have heavy. I mean, I go Bora. He doesn't do. He elects to do nothing with Bora, and I'm like, okay, I can set two. He MSTs my oppression, which makes me worried. Thank God for me, he has Cold Wave, but he doesn't have a way to be able to use his Cold Wave efficiently. Anyway, so I also have that, and I'm intensively like looting in my graveyard to start plays with Dark Arm Dragon because I know that that can bait Solemn. Because I'm like, if he has Solemn, I can bait it with that really easy. Anyway, so here is where it's like a really strong top deck. I go Whirlwind, he goes Trap Hole. I just chain Icarus here. It's the perfect opportunity. He elects to Judgment this because he wants to keep his other back row. I don't know if it was the right call to lose all these life points because you are a bit top deck reliant. I mean, and you have the book that you're gonna burn on a monster of mine. I mean, on a future attack. He top decks Morphing Jar, which is actually insane. So here is where he sets also Cold Wave. He's like, fuck it. And here's where I draw Sirocco, and I have two darks. So I've seen Trap Hole from him, and I'm like, if he has a third Trap Hole, me going for that is just gonna make me lose the game. So instead of going for that, which you could do it, I don't like going for that against like 3 back row, even though I know Solemn is gone. What do I like to do? I like to normal Greffer, and I elect to not use the effect. So I elect to attack with Bora to get the piercing. He econs this to avoid the damage, plus he's afraid of Kalut. He has to do this. And then I go Morphing Jar. This is how I lost that, and this is a really good tempo swing for him. Anyway, so he draws. So these are his draws. Really strong draws, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I think that his issue was that he drew Bestiary. Anyway, I just set everything. So he draws, and he is not able to get into Geyserus because he drew the Bestiary. He was looking for that line. And he just quits because he cannot go Geyserus. I mean, he can set Proving Grounds, he can set stuff, but I have everything at this point, and that's game over. I mean, Morphing Jar was really scary there. Anyway, moving on to the next replay. The next replay is against Lightsworn. And this is a replay that Lightsworn player misplayed a lot. And it's just for reference to read cards. Anyway, so he starts by having a really strong hand. He even top decks Recharge, which is insane. And he just activates it, pitches the Wolf, that was a break in his hand, draws Heavy Storm off of it. I mean, the mills weren't that good, but he already has JD, Lumina plus Necroguard, and a Heavy to clear the way for JD. I have the Solemn for Heavy, which is the best thing, but anyway, so this entire duel was me paying attention onto JD. So there we go, he goes Lumina discards Necroguard. That he forgot about this card's existence, by the way. So here he goes and he mills 3. He mills Gorge and Honest, which makes me a little bit more confident attacking into his Lumina. Because here's what I do. I go Shura and special Bora. Here's where I misplay. I should attack with Shura to bait out the Necroguard, even though I don't think he should use it here, but it can bait the Necroguard. Attacking with Bora does nothing here. It just makes him get damage. It clears the Lumina, but still. I was hoping he would be bad and I would bait him with the Judgment, but and I would bait the Necro Gardener with Bora, but it didn't happen. Anyway, so he draws Trap Dust Shoot, which is a really strong card. He goes heavy. I am solemning this because I mean I know that he is not able to summon JD now, but so and I elect to protect my Dimensional Prison because in case that I want to like pop this, and I mean I lose to Celestia, but you can't have everything in this game. Like he has JD, Jane, and he sets Dust Shoot and he elects to go battle. I think he could. He was afraid of like a possible Torrential, most likely, or a Mirror Force if he normal summoned Jane. He's like, oh, he's protecting the other backer with a Judgment. Anyway, I'm obviously gonna let my guy die. And so here is I go Blizzy. Blizzy effect revive, and here's where I go and summon Armwing because I have Greffer in hand, and if Armwing dies by a Likely Honest, I can follow it up with a Graveyard Vial. And I attack, I deal damage, he set his Dust Shoot, and he does nothing. So he draws Wolf, which is really bad for him. He normals Jane, and I'm like, if he goes, I mean like, I'm gonna deep prison this, it just gives me a lot of tempo. It also gets a name out of his hand that can also go in his graveyard, and I'm keeping the names in check because I am sure that one of the cards here is either Wolf or a JD. I know that one Wolf is gone, and I'm like, it's most likely a JD. So I draw Greffer, I elect to not do anything here. I am suspecting this is like a strong card. I am keeping Greffer in hand. In case this is Mirror Force, I can follow this up with Vayu if I want to. Anyway, so this is what happens. Anyway, he top decks Book here, yes. And he goes for Eren plus Book. This is a really minus play. I mean, it doesn't, I don't care that Shura goes back. I think he should have gotten rid of the Armed Wing here and not of the Shura. I mean, he has Judgment Dragon Wolf, but still. So here's where he goes Dust Shoot. I'm like, okay, my friend, you can Dust Shoot all you want because I am protected from JD since I'm gonna have a Greffer to pop by myself in case he goes for a random JD. He doesn't have names. He has only 2 names, but still. So I do not normal the Greffer here because I don't want, this was a misplay by my side. I hadn't seen that Gors wasn't in his graveyard. He also hasn't seen his Necro Gardener for some reason. Anyway, so I know like I'm okay if he uses Necro Gardener here. I knew that Gardener was in there. I didn't know that Gors was in the graveyard. I was kind of trying to play around Gors. Anyway. Okay, so here is Lag. I set the Greffer, I set the Icarus. He draws Card of Destruction. I don't care. I see the JD gone. He draws Wolf, Jane, and that's all she wrote. I mean, he could like get lucky and top deck something, but even then, I don't think it would help. So here's where we go into the next game. So next game, he opts to go first, and look what the fuck he opens. So he opens Charge, Dust Shoot, Celestia play, and has Gors in hand. I mean, the Wolf is better, like all the other 4 cards are insane. And he top decks JD. And he mills, I mean, he mills the other JD, but he also mills Jane. And I'm like, what the fuck? And his hand is, he has, and he's gonna go Lumina. Now discard the Wolf and summon back the Wolf. So he already has a name. two more that I'm gonna clean. He has Dust Shoot, which fucks me. I mean, it doesn't really fuck. It should normally fuck any play, and he can follow it up with Celestia into JD, which is fucking stupid. So here is what happens. He sets a Dust Shoot. He goes Lumina because, I mean, he didn't mill anything good with Lumina. I mean, never mind, he milled the second name, which was really good for him. But he's gonna have the four names anyway. So he's gonna go Dust Shoot here, and I have access to both my plays, to both the Greffer Sirocco one and the both the Greffer Sirocco play to Gale, and that's really good for me. Unfortunately, this Dust Shoot stops me from going into Stardust. Stardust Dragon would be really helpful because I know it can counter Celestia. And if I can, if it can counter Celestia and Heavy Storm, and so I can set my oppression and my bottomless and have out to both Celestia and what's the name, and JD. So the problem is that he gets rid of the Sirocco. The Trap Dust Shoot is again proving to be the most retarded card in the Edison format. And his hand is like fucking insane, but if he didn't have Dust Shoot, I had the counter for it, which is really shows really the strength of this deck. So I go Whirlwind, I go Gale. I'm searching the value for the follow-up because I'm gonna have a follow-up play. I'm halving the attack of Wolf and I am attacking the Lumina. I mean, he has three names, but he has three names now, and I'm like, okay, so he has Celestia, so I'm like, if he has Celeste, I'm like, he doesn't have JD, because he most likely doesn't have JD because he milled one JD. So if he has a Celestia, he will have to mill a Lightsworn name in addition with JD, and I can get rid of the Celestia with bottomless. I don't want to set the oppression because he doesn't have a ready JD. I mean, and if he has on Celestia, I can counter it. Anyway, so here it goes. He top decks even Celestia, and he mills two additional names because he's that good. And he targets my back row. I'm like, okay, I'm bottomlessing you. And then he just slaps JD because he's good. He has the other JD. And we go, JD pops my Whirlwind, and I'm getting attacked. Anyway, so here is where I have no way to clear this JD. So I'm like, right at the moment, I'm like, I'm either betting for like Dark Arm Dragon or Kalut. That it's the harsh reality, or even I think that even like I can even like accept Blizzy with the Gale to halve JD's attack. I am accepting that. It's not, but still. So I just pass here. He hasn't milled with JD, and I mean he drew Foolish, which was really good here. It would be game because Foolish would send Plague, put back Gores, Tribute Summon the Celestia, attack for game. But he hadn't milled with Gores, so yeah, he has to do the effect. And he mills a Foolish. He draws Wolf. I mean, okay, I mean, you can be unlucky once. And yeah, like right now, two of his cards are dead, and I'm like, please, God, give me a top deck. He has had good hands all this game. He mills his heavy. His mills were really good for me here because he mills 3 anti-back row cards and honest. So here is where I draw Kalut, and I am going for it because it's really good. Anyway, so I keep on doing this. I'm getting rid of the JD, obviously. And I elect to not attack here with Greffer. You're gonna laugh at me for this. I'm accepting that Gores is a possible card that I can't out at the moment. And I said, so he top decks Crow, which is good against my Greffer. And here is where the stupidity happens. I'm not attacking here. He sets MST, and I'm like, okay, he sets a card. I mean, I have seen his whole deck. I should be expecting that, and I'm expecting that it's like a likely defensive card here. So I should expect this being MST because I know it's Lightsworn, and Lightsworn is an aggressive deck. So here's where I misplay. I attack. I am attacking with Greffer, but still, this summons Gores. All of the busted cards. Anyway, so here is Gores. I clear the monster with Arming. He puts it in attack, by the way, for no fighting reason. I discard the other Greffer. I keep these two in my hand for possible beckoning lights. I think he's headed them out though. And on resolution, he crows me here. I don't know why he crowed here. I think it's a major misplay. You are playing into Dark Arm Dragon if you do this, because I'm having, it's like the first time that I have more than 2 darks. And if I have Dark Arm Dragon here, you're just getting waxed. Your hand is dog water, your cards do nothing. There's nothing in your graveyard that gets you, and like you're playing into that to banish a value that does nothing. So he top decks Raikou, which is a really good top deck for him. Anyway, he clears this. He doesn't clear the Greffer, which surprised me, not gonna lie. I drew Judgment. Judgment is bad here because all of his back row wipeouts have been gone. His JDs are gone. I would prefer to see a card that helps me deal with a Gores, like an Icarus, that for example helps me go more. And anyway, I go Greffer, I pitch the crows because I'm like, okay, the crows are not, the one crow is not useful anymore. I want this for defense. And I am expecting this to be a Raikou, so I am attacking it. So here is, he pops me, and yeah, the Raikou goes into the graveyard. I go for Vayu here, which is a misplay, but my opponent doesn't read Vayu. And he thinks that the Armor Master I summon cannot be destroyed by battle and places wedge counters. Anyway, moving on. So I should have set the Crow here, obviously. My opponent top decks Giant Trunade. I mean, if I set the Crow, it's really good. He doesn't attack and he gives me time. I top deck again badly. I top deck a Royal Oppression, which is awful. Then he top decks Necrogarna, which is another bad top deck. I mean, but the majority of his deck is now bad. I mean, I think the only good card he has is like a Raikou, and he has a Celestia, but he cannot really use Celestia. He sets here the Necrogarna. I am afraid that this is the third Raikou. I'm really afraid that this is the third Raikou. I draw a card to out Gores, which is Deep Prison. Obviously, I'm gonna set it. I want this Judgment for Raikou. So here's where he sets Orcus. I mean, I don't know why he set this. Anyway, I think that this is where I understood that this isn't. Where I understood that this wasn't Raikou, because he would go for the play with Raikou, pop the Armor Master. I would have to Solemn the Raikou, obviously, and then I would prison the Gores. Anyway, so here I draw Whirlwind, and now he draws the Raikou. He flips this, he goes for this. I'm like, my oppression will die if I Judgment here, but I have to do it to keep the prison to out the Gores. Anyway, so he sets the Raikou here. I don't know why I thought if this was the Raikou here, I would lose, but it's okay because I didn't lose. I'm telling him that he has to mill with Orcus and that he has to special the wolf that's in his deck. So, and this is all she wrote basically because I'm just gonna deck him out. Just read your cards, people. Just read your cards. And here's I am attacking. I'm not using the Kalut. I have so many lines of defense. I think there's nothing he can do that kills kills me at this point. I am at this point I should have attacked here with Raiko, here the Raiko, and use the Kalut to kill him. But I at this point I forgot which card was the Raiko. I missed lethal, but I knew that I would win by Deca. I knew his last card was Plague Spreader, and that he could do stuff with Plague Spreader, but he elected not. So yeah, he flips the Garna, he goes Raiko. I'm telling him that if he activates Raiko, he's gonna lose the game because he cannot mill. He tells me it's optional. Of course, it is not optional. He tells me to look the rules. I look at them. Yeah, and he says GG. He could normal Plague here. I mean, if he normals Plague, what does he do? He can make Catastor, and then he can put a card back with Plague. I don't think it saves him though, because there's not a lot of things he can do. I mean, he can Black Rose, but still. I mean, I missed lethal on Raiko, but I was like, okay, Raiko cannot activate, blah blah blah. Anyway, a bit of a sleepy game for me. An awful game from him. This guy opened the nuts. Like, he opened 2 lines of very aggressive plays, turn 3 plus trap dust shoot, and he managed to lose. I mean, my 2 main misplays was attacking while I should have expected the set being MST, and playing into, and obviously not killing the Raiko, because I should have remembered that this card wasn't Raiko. I was like, it's either Plague Spreader or Gardener. Anyway, that's it. Have a nice day, everybody.